You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey there, Days of Our Lives fans. It's Melinda from Soap Dirt, and I have a huge update for you about another DNA test. So, on Days right now, Nicole Walker's grief is absolutely overwhelming her, and she's really hard hit when she saw Eric Brady with his newborn son out for a walk. That happened on the most recent episode on Friday, November 24th. Based on the timing of him and Sloan adopting, right after she and EJ lost their baby, she has her radar up and she's going to make demands that might seem strange to some, but if you know Nicole's history, it actually makes sense. So we're going to talk about yet another DNA test on the NBC streaming soap opera. If you haven't, please reach down, click subscribe so you don't miss any of our updates. So recently, Nicole Walker, just in case, I know some people don't always watch every episode, so I'm going to recap this for you real quick, then move on. So recently, Nicole Walker delivered her son prematurely on the side of the road after Leo Stark and Dimitri Von Leuschner ran her off the road on a dark night as they were trying to flee town. They helped her through the birth, and then Leo stayed with her while Dimitri took the tot to the hospital to get checked out since he was born a few weeks too soon. He technically wasn't due until early January. So he saw Rafe and EJ Demara there and he panicked. He turned right around with that little baby in his arms and he went over to Sloan Petersen's apartment instead. And of course, the former DA Melinda Trask was there and she immediately saw an opportunity and grabbed it, and she grabbed that baby. So now, if you've been watching, Nicole and EJ were told that their baby died. They were told that by slimy Dr. Pierce because he was looking for a quick payday from Sloan and Melinda. And then also on Friday's episode, Nicole asked the Dirty Doc to bring their baby's body to them. She wanted to hold her son one last time, and she wanted EJ to hold their child because he never got to. By the time EJ got to the roadside crash, Dimitri had already left with the baby. So awful Dr. Pierce told them they can't because there was a mistake in the paperwork and the baby's little body was already cremated. So he did say he's going to get them their ashes. And then at the same time this is going on, Melinda shows up over at Sloan's apartment and hands over Nicole's baby boy to Eric and Sloan for this shady, faked out adoption scheme. But then Sloan panicked because the newborn doesn't seem to like her. The baby was crying and then she handed the baby to Eric and the baby immediately stopped. So this little one seems to instinctively know that Eric is his father and he wasn't fussing when he was holding him. And then Sloan stayed at the apartment to wait on a rocking chair, glider rocker to be delivered. And Eric took his new baby son out for a walk and he ran smack into Nicole, who was waiting outside the Brady pub while EJ was in there getting takeout for them. So at the end of the episode, Nicole asked Eric, "Can I hold your son?" They've named him Jude. I think it's going to be like Jude Petersen Brady or something like that. But anyway, in the end, Jude Brady. And next week, Eric is going to let her hold his new son. So when Nicole has the baby in her arms, she's going to look into his little eyes and immediately feel this motherly bond. And then she suddenly is tormented by the notion that this baby that he adopted is really her son that has just gone missing in one string of unfortunate events after another. And of course, yeah, that sounds crazy on the outside looking in, but it's Salem, first of all. And let's not forget, Nicole Walker knows a thing or two about stealing babies. If you don't remember, Sammy Brady and Nicole Walker were both pregnant by EJ Demara at the same time. I think they both got pregnant like in late fall or winter 2008. And then fast forward to 2009, Nicole had suffered a miscarriage, but Sammy gave birth to a healthy baby girl. So of course, Nicole pulled a baby swap. She found this other woman who was willing to let her adopt the baby. She took that baby and she faked labor and delivery. She stole Sammy's baby and then gave Sammy the baby that she had gotten from the other woman. That way, Nicole actually had EJ's baby, his biological baby. She named that little girl Sydney. And then things got more twisted because the baby that she gave Sammy wound up dying. And of course, Sammy was absolutely devastated. And when it came out what Nicole had done, she freaked out. She took the baby and she ran off with it. But later she came back and returned it. That reminds me a lot of what Sarah did with Kristen DeMera's baby not that long ago. They don't call Ron Carlivati rerun for nothing. This plot has been done before more than once. So baby stealing and swapping is like a rite of passage of parenthood in Salem, apparently. So fast forward to now, Nicole suspects this has been done to her. And if so, I mean, we have to call it karma, right? So had she not stolen another woman's baby, this whole scenario, twisted at it as it is, might not have ever crossed her mind. Not only does Nicole think that little baby Jude might be her son, but she absolutely suspects Sloan Petersen is completely to blame for this and stole the baby. She is absolutely right, but it sounds crazy, at least in the real world. So for Nicole, the timing is very suspect. Her baby was born seemingly healthy and then died the same day a baby was born that Eric and Sloan conveniently adopted in a private, not a public adoption. You may recall that Sloan had gotten pregnant by Eric, but she had a pretty early miscarriage, and then she was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder and was told she can't ever carry a baby to term. I have an autoimmune disorder and I had a hard time getting pregnant, so that is actually quite plausible, very real life. So Nicole is pretty certain that Sloan's a sketchy character. I think we all know that by now, right? Meanwhile, EJ's new bride is also suffering from some form of postpartum depression that plagued her before when she had lost the baby and then stole little Sydney. But in this case, Nicole is feeling just increasingly certain that Sloan stole her little baby and is passing it off in this adoption scenario. So Nicole brings her suspicions to Eric and asks him if he'll agree to a DNA test on baby Jude to see if it's her son. So what's interesting, if they try and DNA match the baby to Nicole and the test isn't tampered with, it should be a match. Of interest is that if they do the DNA match against EJ and baby Jude, it would not be a match. So one of the ways that Sloan could play this is agree to it and say, look, let's have EJ tested and the baby tested because Nicole's freaking out. I don't want her around the baby, around the whatever, you know? That would absolutely be one very sneaky way that Sloan could get away with this because she knows that baby is not a DNA match for EJ. So further complicating this, Eric apparently just says, okay, we'll do the DNA test. Sloan's not going to like it one bit, but she can't really pitch too big of a fit or it'll seem suspicious. So right now, I don't think Eric suspects Sloan at all, even after what Nicole says. I think he sees that Nicole is grieving and she's freaking out and he knows her history of pregnancy losses. So maybe he's willing to do this DNA test because he's completely confident, doesn't think it's a big deal, and it'll give Nicole peace of mind while she's in this very dark place. So I do think it'd be interesting if Sloan presses for EJ to be the subject of the DNA test with baby Jude instead of Nicole. But there's one other problem. Remember, there's still those DNA test results in the DeMera living room safe because Sloan shredded the wrong envelope and she left the actual test results when she kind of got flustered while she was trying to make the swap. So that test that was done on EJ and the baby shows he's not the baby's father, and it's sitting right there in the house. So it sure seems like it's just a matter of time before Sloan and Melinda are outed. We'll have to wait and see how long it takes, but I am betting that Sloan runs to Melinda to tell her Nicole is asking for a DNA test. And in addition to considering asking EJ to be the one that's DNA tested, the good news is because they've been bribing that awful Dr. Pierce to do bad deeds, they could probably get him to tamper with the DNA test if it's run at the hospital, because this kid needs to show up being a match for nobody involved, not Nicole, not EJ, not Eric, and not Sloan. So they really can't let what they really need to do, it's not necessarily about EJ versus Eric being or Nicole being tested, but that baby, they need to substitute other DNA because the baby will be a match for 2 of those 4 people in question because it's Nicole and Eric's kid. So we'll have to wait and see how Sloan and Melinda slither out of this one because I'm quite confident they will, and we are not going to have a very speedy resolution to this story. So we'll just see. If you haven't already, please reach down, click subscribe so you don't miss any of our Days of Our Lives updates, spoilers, and news. Definitely comment on what you think. Do you think this storyline's about to be blown up, or do you expect another month or 2? Because, nothing ever blows up and blows over that fast in Salem. So we'll see if they can pull another slick move and get away with it for a little while longer. Come back here for more on Days of Our Lives. This has been Melinda from Soap Dirt.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.